Good morning, everybody. It is so good to see you all in person. My colleagues and all of our friends and staff here at the county who's been helping us and help us get out of the pandemic over the last year and a half. But this is actually the third year that we are here to raise the Pride flag. But this is the first time that we are raising the Progress flag. And the Progress flag was created in 2018 by Daniel Quasar. And the Progress flag adds the colors of the transgender flag, the pink, white, and blue, along with the black and brown to represent our communities of color. And this inclusionary flag is really to emphasize the unity of the LGBTQ movement. And the arrow that it forms is to show the forward progress that we are still working to achieve, not only here in Montgomery County, but here in the United States and quite frankly, globally as well. And as a white cisgender gay man, I know that there's not a lot that let me say this again. I know that I don't know everything because I will never know what it is like to be a Black trans woman or any other members of the LGBTQ community that do not look like me. And that is why we need to continue our conversations and continue our strong diversity and support for everybody in the LGBTQ community, because we need to make sure that everybody has the mental health support that they need. We need to make sure that everybody feels safe wherever they are, however they identify, and with whomever they are with. And it's these types of positive changes and the support from friends, allies, and members of government that we need to really continue making progress for all members of the LGBTQ plus community. And since being elected to the county council, I have been using my voice and my legislative power to continue pushing for an inclusive agenda here in Montgomery County and across Maryland as well. Because every day I see that there continue to be injustices. There continue to be people who need help and need assistance and, quite frankly, need protection. And as the first LGBTQ member of the county council, it is one of the reasons why I introduced and passed the LGBTQ Bill of Rights, to make sure that people were not being discriminated against when in healthcare settings, regardless of how they identify and regardless of their HIV status. And I am so proud that all my colleagues on the county council unanimously supported that effort, and it was signed into law by the county executive. And there's one other aspect of my work that my team and I fondly refer to as the Glass Amendment, and that is making sure that whenever a piece of legislation is introduced, it is truly inclusive, to make sure that all gender identities and all aspects of the LGBTQ plus community are represented in that piece of legislation. And when we talk about protections and safeguards, it is really important to know that there are 14 states in these United States that currently have anti-LGBTQ legislation proposed. And much of that legislation is targeting the trans community, banning them from healthcare that they need, banning them from certain educational opportunities as well. And that is why our efforts here are so important and they're so critical. And again, I just want to thank all of my colleagues and our leaders in Annapolis as well for making sure that Montgomery County and Maryland is an affirming and welcoming place for everybody who wants to live here. And with that, I am going to turn it over to a bunch of special guests and colleagues. But first, there are people I just want to recognize for being here today. First, I want to recognize Karen Hendricks from Senator Chris Van Hollen's office. Where's Karen? Karen's over there. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, the Senator, for representing here. Erica Fuentes from Congressman Jamie Raskin's office. Thank you. Chief Health Officer Dr. Travis Gales. Dr. Gales, thank you for everything that you've been doing, especially over the last year and a half during this pandemic. I also want to thank Maryland Circuit Court Judge Debbie Dwyer. Is Judge Dwyer here? I know she doesn't have far to walk, but she's probably taking a case right now. But as a member of the community, I want to thank her for her steadfast support. One of our newest officials here in Montgomery County is our newest clerk of the court, Karen Bushell, a member of the community. Karen, welcome. Congratulations on your new role as well. Somerset Mayor Jeffrey Slavin. Is Mayor Slavin here? He's probably on his way, but thank you, Mayor Slavin. Bruce Williams. Bruce Williams, former mayor of Tacoma Park and the first LGBTQ elected official in the state of Maryland. Thank you, Bruce, for everything that you've done over your term and tenure. We have some incredible community leaders and advocates who are here as well, helping continue to push us to be better stewards and to continue making sure that all of our legislation is inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community. And Lee Blinder, I want to thank you. Ezra Town, Mark Eckstein, I see Mark's here. Philip Downing. Philip, thank you very much. Also want to thank Nikki Woodward with our teachers for being here and making sure that our teachers are supportive of all of these efforts and making sure that our school curriculum reflects that as well. I know that my colleagues, Councilmember Andrew Friedson and Hans Reamer, could not be here, but they send their love and support too. And then finally, I just want to thank my incredible staff for helping make sure that we do right by all members of the LGBTQ community and continue not only this event, but a full month of events as well, organized during budget. And my colleagues know how hard a task that is. So Valeria and Bianca and David and Dory and Noah and Sean, thank you all very much for your hard work and dedication. And so now I would like to turn it over to the county executive whose official flagpole this is we're about to adorn today.
Yes, the infamous flagpole. I just want to call out especially Bruce Williams, because Bruce, we go back to Tacoma Park and we did landmark legislation early on before anybody else did, between changing our laws and how we treated people, but probably most significantly, we passed legislation that created a domestic registry. When it came to us, we found that couples weren't allowed to be couples in a hospital, and that the hospital could bar admittance to somebody's partner if they were not legally married to that partner. So we created a domestic registry in Tacoma Park so people could use the hospitals and have their partners in there. At the beginning, it seemed like such a radical and far-reaching thing to do, and in hindsight, it was a first step. But it was an important first step. And Bruce, I just want to call you out for your role in that. It was really, really important. And I wish Sue was here, our attorney, because she helped write all this wonderful stuff. So thank you very much. And it gets to the point, and I also want to thank Evan for your leadership on this. This has been really important. Evan talked about not knowing everybody and everybody's struggles individually. The truth is, I don't need to know your struggles. All I need to know is you're a human being. And every single human being is entitled to the same just treatment. Not the same bad treatment, the same just treatment. Everybody should be treated the same way. Everybody should have equal access. Everybody should have equal opportunity. And nobody should be treated different than anyone else. And that's what we try to do in Montgomery County. We have established, this is Pride Month in Montgomery County. We know we've lost far too many people over the years. This country continues to have murders that are based on people's sexual, I wouldn't say preferences, sexual orientation. And that shouldn't be the case, and yet that continues to be real. People continue to face discrimination. They continue to face derogatory comments. They're demeaned, and that should not be part of any community, and it should not be part of the Montgomery County community. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and part of accomplishing more is making this recognition normal, of letting everybody know that you need to be a part of this. This isn't something that's done for a group. This is part of who we are. And if we do not treat any members of our group fair, every member of our group fairly, then we're really not doing what we need to do in terms of how we treat people in our community. So this is important. We're an inclusionary community. We've tried to be this for a very long time. In this county, residents, LGBTQ residents, serve as elected officials and public servants and professionals in every branch of our county government, including my CAO. We are widely welcoming to people in the community. We've been woven with this fabric for years, and we're going to continue to weave that fabric and make it deeper. flag, the Pride flag, symbolizes both LGBTQ Pride, the LGBTQ social movements, as well as the diversity of our community. So I'm happy to join you today. I'm so glad to see so many people here for this event. It is important to make everybody's life normal. There shouldn't be some people who are normal and some people who are not. Everybody's life should be normal. Everybody should be accepted for who they are, what they are, and that should be the beginning of this, and that should be the end of this. So thank you all for being here today. And I'll turn this over to Congressman David Trone.
Thanks, Mark, for that. I'm Congressman David Trone, and I'll tell you, Evan, you put together another great event. We thank you very much. So it's great to be here with Mark and the whole council and some others, but this is a really, really important event because America has come a long way. I mean, think about at Stonewall and where we are today. What a difference. And all that credit goes to the action that the LGBTQ community has had politically. And we need to continue that action to get us where we need to go. Because this issue is personal to me. I have a niece that is trans, openly trans, and she should have the opportunity, every opportunity that I have. So we've got to keep pulling together in a country full of systemic racism. So with our great successes, we also have a big but. But there were 27 murders so far this year of trans individuals in this country. So while Montgomery County is open and with the times, so many parts of our country are so far behind. A trans LGBTQ individual could be married on Sunday, Monday post their wedding photos, and in 29 states thrown out of their house on Monday. That is just so inherently wrong. So we've got to get through to the finish line, the Equality Act, and that'll restore all the rights to American LGBTQ community. It's passed the House. I was certainly a co-sponsor. We've got to get through Mitch McConnell, the filibuster, and we got to move it through the Senate. But the only way that's going to happen is your continued activity and political involvement. So thank you all for being here today, and let's celebrate Pride Month.
Now I'd like to bring up Council President Tom Hucker.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Glass. Thanks for your leadership, putting together this terrific event year after year. I'm thrilled to be here at the beginning of Pride Month. And maybe because getting older on annual events like this makes me a little wistful and remember how far we've come. As the Congressman said, it's so important to remember all the wins we've had have come through hard-fought political battles and lots of sacrifice and lots of involvement. It was over a decade ago, before there was a really well-funded marriage equality campaign in Maryland. Equality Maryland's office was pretty small, and they asked me to hold a lot of the organizing meetings, several of them, at my old office at Progressive Maryland in Silver Spring. And eventually it took off and got the national funding it deserved. And a minute ago I saw former State Senator Rich Madaleno, who we ought to recognize, because he helped, along with former State Senator Jamie Raskin, to get marriage equality through the General Assembly that many years ago. I was serving at the House at the time, was pleased to be one of the original co-sponsors. There's Rich. Give it up for Rich. Thank you for being here and for all your hard work. But a lot of people think we should all be proud, Maryland was the first state to pass marriage equality without a judge making us do that, and the first state to ratify our decision by the voters. So that's a great credit to the people of Maryland. But people think the battle ended there. And as the Congressman said, we have so far to go. This is a process. It's not a light switch, the process of changing hearts and minds. There is still so much discrimination out there and bigotry. I was really pleased to join several colleagues on the Woodmore Pride March, first ever one, in a formerly conservative neighborhood in Woodmore and Silver Spring yesterday. But sitting in on an employee training last week, I learned about a couple relevant facts. Our LGBTQ residents have been, of course, disproportionately suffering from health disparities for quite a while. They've also been disproportionately hit by COVID because of higher than average HIV and cancer rates and existing health barriers. Second, along comes the recession beyond COVID, and they're disproportionately hit by the recession because of higher than average employment in hospitality, in restaurants, in retail, in the arts, all those industries that were shut down by COVID. And now, in the slow reopening we're having, they were some of the first laid off and are being the last to be rehired. So this whole experience over the last year and a half has shown a powerful spotlight on the existing disparities that have bedeviled our society for many, many years. And it's only if we're attentive to those disparities as we climb out of this that we're going to do the right amount, bring the justice that we need to all our residents, particularly our LGBTQ residents that we're celebrating today. Thank you all for keeping the fight alive, and thank you for being here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me introduce Council Vice President Gabe Albedos.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Let me just begin by acknowledging the leadership and courage of our friend Councilmember Evan Glass and his entire team. We cannot forget the vitriol and nastiness that they experienced when we first raised this flag just less than 2 years ago. The courage that he and his team showed was remarkable and demonstrated why this event and this month is so important, even in a place as progressive as Montgomery County. This last year has been exhausting. It's been disorienting, and it has been tragic. 74% of our LGBTQ community in a national survey reported being negatively impacted from a mental health and behavioral health standpoint this last year. That's compared to 54% of the general public. And 49% reported being severely negatively impacted from a mental health standpoint. We must stand together on days like today to lift all of our community up, to stand united against hate, against the injustices that our council president just mentioned. There is so much work to do. And yet I remain extraordinarily hopeful because of days like this, that much better days lie ahead. So thank you again, Councilmember Glass, to your team, and to all of our remarkable LGBTQ members of our community who contribute in every corner of our culture and our society. We proudly stand with you. We are so proud to call you friends. Thank you so much. I now want to introduce my good friend, Councilmember Nancy Navarro.
Thank you so much. Well, it's so great to see all of you in person. I haven't seen some of you in a while. This is such an amazing moment to celebrate something so important. It's a moment of visibility. And as it has been said before, I will repeat it. Thank you to my colleague, Councilmember Glass and his team, because this is really crucial. And although you have heard all the milestones that many of us have been involved in the past, and the extraordinary leadership of people like Bruce and people like Rich Madaleno, and so many people, the reality is that every single step gets us closer to a more perfect county. And for me, it's also personal. My baby brother is gay. When I joined the county council, and this was way before marriage equality was passed in 2013, my very first bill was to require that our county contractors would relay benefits to domestic partners of same sex, because that was not a thing back then. And we recognized that each small step was getting us closer and closer to a better place. And so we should not take this for granted. These kinds of celebrations like Pride Month send a signal. It sends a signal especially to our young people who have been so affected during the pandemic. It sends a signal that Montgomery County is here for you. It just shows you that you are welcome, that you are seen, that you are respected, that when we say that our diversity is our strength, we don't just mean it as a tagline, that it's true. And so I welcome and I celebrate all of you, because many of you, again, have been the first to say, I am here and I'm being seen. I think of somebody that's going to speak very soon, Dr. Pollard, who has shown the way in such courageous fashion. The more that is done, the easier it will be for young people to come through and occupy those spaces fully present. So again, what an amazing moment What a great time to celebrate, and how wonderful that we're doing this now, finally, that we can see each other in person. It's all around an extraordinary celebration. Thank you again, my friend.
Next up, Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to Evan, and thank you to you and your staff. I want to join the chorus and say that. You know, today is probably maybe the first event that we've had in the county where people didn't wear masks. And I know it's okay because I see Dr. Gale's not wearing a mask, so I know it's okay to do this. I followed his lead all along, and I'm certainly going to follow it today. But I think it's symbolic because there was a time, not just in Montgomery County, but in the world, where people were afraid to show their face, were afraid to say that they were in the LGBTQ community. Those days are gone, thank goodness, and those days should be gone. My colleagues and I have heard me say this probably many more times than they ever would want to, but I'm going to say it again anyhow. I believe that a community is a family. I sincerely believe that. And it is so very important that our community stand together on this and every other topic that reminds people that if you hurt one member of our family, you hurt every member of our family. We will not stand for it. We will not allow for it. And today is a wonderful day to show our face, to show our pride, and to raise a flag that we all know should have been raised for many years. Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Will Juando.
Thank you. We never get tired of hearing that we're a family, Sidney. I don't, at least. I'm honored to be here today with my colleagues, my good friend, and when we are back in session, my seat buddy, Councilmember Evan Glass. We sit side by side and often talk to each other. And all the guests and distinguished colleagues that are here today to celebrate the beginning of Pride Month. And to raise this rainbow flag high in the sky. Dr. King once said that a riot is the language of the unheard. And when referring to the Stonewall uprising or riots in 1969, that showed an entire nation, an entire world, that folks will no longer be silent in the face of homophobia, transphobia, bigotry, and police violence, which are interrelated. Later turning that spirit into what we now call this month, Pride Month. Legendary activist Marsha P. Johnson said, quote, "History isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. That is inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and in the moment, but these moments are cumulative realities, rather. Unfortunately, the dreams of trailblazers such as Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera have yet to be realized. I only have a very short amount of time, but it's hard not to think of the aforementioned transgender community in particular today. The Human Rights Campaign tells us that a total of 44 transgender and gender nonconforming individuals were murdered in 2020. You heard from Congressman Trone that already this year, 28 are on that list, ahead of that schedule from last year. It's hard not to think about Zella Ziona, a transgender woman who was killed in Gaithersburg in 2015, and how many systems failed her and so many women like her. All of these people were killed and will be missed because we have failed to collectively act. I'm proud to be in Montgomery County where we are taking action and standing up and standing in solidarity. I stand side by side, along with the cicada here, in solidarity for all of our LGBTQIA members of our community to say Happy Pride Month. Thank you very much. And it's my pleasure to introduce Councilmember Craig Rice.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Juando, and thank you, Councilmember Glass, and to all of my colleagues on the County Council, all of my elected officials, and all of the folks that are here today. I'm going to be very brief and just share with you a story of my daughter's best friend who I was allowed to be able to talk about this a few times, but I want to make sure that the message is heard for those who may be listening and watching this. As parents, as family and friends, we have to make sure that we're taking care of our young people. Our young people are going through so many tough times. Our world is an incredibly different place. And the reality is that even when these young people make decisions about how they are going to live their lives and who they are going to love, recognizing that's how they were born, we need to be supportive, even if they're not our children. We need to be supportive of them and making sure that we're standing up for them, standing up for their rights, and making sure that they feel loved and included just like we would anybody else. There is no difference. And so, to Andy, to his mom, I salute you for not only ensuring that other young people like yourselves see your courage and understand what it is to be you. I also want to applaud my daughter, who as a supportive friend, as all of us should be, supports people in being whoever it is that they are born to be and loving them just for that. That is what we stand for today. That is the reason why we raise this flag and we make sure that everybody recognizes just how important this is. Thank you, Councilmember Glass, and thank you to each and every one of you.
Next up, I'd like to bring Delegate Gabriel Acevedo, who is the state author of the LGBTQ Bill of Rights. So while we got that done here in Montgomery County, he's going to make this happen in the state of Maryland.
Good morning. Thank you so much to my council member, our council member, Evan Glass, and his team for once again organizing today's event, to our county executive, Marc Elrich, for continuing to stand with the LGBTQ plus community in Montgomery County, and to all of our elected officials, including our federal elected officials, Congressman David Trone, for his advocacy and work on the Equality Act at the federal level. As was mentioned, my name is Delegate Gabriel Acevedo. I represent District 39, which is the northwestern part of Montgomery County, and I'm proud to not only represent District 39, but the LGBTQ plus community in Annapolis, understanding that, as Councilmember Navarro mentioned, today and every day is about visibility and about understanding that the most important thing that we can do as LGBTQ plus people is to, one, be visible, and two, to push the systems that continue to deny our humanity. And so today we're here to not only honor Pride Month, and as a reminder to everyone, Pride is a resistance to police violence. It was and still is. And if we're honoring Pride Month, we must not only continue the work of ending police brutality, but honoring the trans and non-binary folks, particularly people of color, who were instrumental in making today possible. It was mentioned, a couple of names, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. I'd also like to lift up Stormy DeLavery, Miss Major Griffin, and so many others who, the reason I and Councilmember Evan Glass are standing here today is because we stand on their shoulders, and we're able to do the work that we do because of the sacrifices and the contributions that they've made in yesteryears. But make no mistake, there's still work that we need to do. From LGBTQ youth homelessness, to disparities in healthcare, to housing, to the violence against trans and non-binary people that continue to exist today, but also a lack of representation of LGBTQ plus people within federal, state, and local government. While it is certainly good to see Councilmember Glass, myself, President Pollard, and others who are serving in positions of leadership, LGBTQ plus people account for 0.13% of elected folks in this country. So we have a lot of work to do to ensure that we're taking care, as I like to say, of those who are within our community, who are at the dawn of their lives, LGBTQ plus youth, those who are at the sunset of their lives, LGBTQ plus seniors, and it's why I introduced the LGBTQ Senior Bill of Rights, to ensure that we're protecting seniors, but also those who exist in the shadows of our lives, and that is our transgender and non-binary folks and gender non-conforming folks, who really are the ones living free and really deserve our support and standing in solidarity now and always to ensure that we're doing what is right so the LGBTQ community not only thrives, but we're able to be our unapologetic selves. So thank you all so much for standing today. We still have work to do. Yes, we're celebrating the raising of a flag, but Pride Month is more than just about raising a flag and recognizing that we have done this work and have fought. Pride is about standing in solidarity with all of us. We don't need allies. We want co-conspirators in this fight, and that is what we need in order for our collective liberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate, for being a lead co-conspirator in Annapolis. Next up, special treat. Before she gets ready to leave for Nevada, we're gonna have her come and speak as often as we can in the next 6 weeks or so. But Montgomery College President DeRionne Pollard, who has been an incredible leader, out and proud.
But as I listened to the themes of today, a few things resonated with me. When I left home a little while ago to come down here, my son said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going down. We're doing a flag raising." And he said, "Oh." And then he said, "Where is that taking place at?" And I said, "Well, it's going to be at the Veterans Plaza in Rockville." And as only a 14-year-old can say, he said to me, "That seems appropriate." Now, I don't know about you, but I think about the fact as a 14-year-old teenager, growing up now, a black boy, raised by two women who adore him, we yet still know that the realities, sorry. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for always having my back. I'm gonna need some on this side too, though, okay? So y'all watch. The cicadas seem to have been liking me today. That being said, what I find to be particularly important is that the symbolism of where this is taking place. Yes, we are celebrating Pride Month. What we're really doing is acknowledging the courage, the sacrifice, the challenges, and hopefully the joy that comes from this moment. As I was sharing with my friend Travis a few minutes ago, our conversation is that Pride Month can't just be June. Pride has to be July 4th. It has to be August 10th. It has to be September 23rd. It has to be November 8th, and on and on and on. So the fact that we live in a community, and I say this now as I become particularly nostalgic as I prepare to transition out of what I believe to be a community that lives its values out loud, a community that commits half of its budget to education, a community that declares itself wanting to be co-conspirators to make sure that everyone has not only the right, the belief that they can live in this community and be successful and be happy and thrive. It means that Pride Month can't just be in June. It can't just be in recognizing certain events throughout the course of the year. It has to be the way we choose to live. My parting thought about Montgomery County will always be that it is a community that lives its values out loud. Thank you for letting me have been a part of this, and I celebrate Pride Month in its totality year-round.
Dr. Pollard, it is not only us who don't want you to go, but the cicadas do not want to leave you alone either, right? So next is a special friend of mine. Karen Kendra Holmes is not only a veteran, but she and I served on the Board of Equality Maryland together during the fight for marriage equality, which with so many others here, we successfully won back in 2012. So Karen.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I'm like Evan said, a retired veteran with the Maryland Defense Force, which supported the Maryland National Guards. Right now, I am First Sergeant with the United States Veterans Reserve, and I've been doing that for 3 years now with them. Just celebrated my 20th anniversary with AmeriCorps, and it's been nice to be able to say this past Friday, 20 years. So anyway, what I want to say basically is the fact that I am transgender, a black transgender woman, and I'm very proud of it. I started my transition back on October 1st of 2010, and it has been a wonderful journey. Most of the times when I go out and speak, it's because I'm doing it to encourage other transgender people to live their life. My saying has always been, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be among the stars. And that's what I want to keep encouraging people to understand, that we're not what you see on Jerry Springer's show. We're doing everything from being a police officer, firefighter, governor, mayor, hopefully one day a president. And that'll be really nice that we keep on doing things like this. I've actually did a TED Talk with TEDx in Ashbury Park, New Jersey. And if you want to see that one, it is going to be 40 years and wandering no more. It took me 40 years to figure this crap out, that who I was. But once I did, I was able to say, hey, this is who I truly am, and I want to be able to support and continue supporting other transgender people out there. Respect is very, very important to us. We transition to be happy, and because of the way society treats us, we lose our family, our spouses, our children, our homes, our jobs, and that's not right. Respect is basically all we want. We want to be treated with respect and live a life that's positive out there. Just be there with us. That's all we want. There's a thing that I basically will always say: treat us with the respect that we deserve. It's not a cliche, it's the golden rule. And basically, treat us like you would your parents, your children, on your job and stuff like that. Because if you do that, we will have a better life to show out there for everything else that we do. So if you meet a trans person, come talk to us. Hear our stories. We've got something that you probably will want to hear and know something more about us, because we are living our authentic self. So if you see a trans person out there, tell them thank you for having the courage to come out and be them true selves. Thank you.
Well, Karen, thank you for being your true self and using your public profile to change hearts and minds all across our region. So thank you. Last, before we raise the flag, I want to invite Vanessa Till to join us, another activist here in Montgomery County in the DMV.
I'm not going to lie, when I showed up and everyone didn't have a mask on, I said, oh, we really outside, huh? So first, I would like to thank Evan for inviting me. And I created the Black Kid Speaks Empowerment in Montgomery County last year after a racist incident at Walt Whitman High School. And this year has been eye-opening to even what my friend said about respect. That's where it starts. And I'm very happy to see everyone here. And what I had mentioned, I'm glad a lot of us are aware of Marsha P. Johnson and some of the work that she has done, but I would like to highlight that there are so many other forms of trans femme folks who are doing the emotional labor in this fight, and they don't receive that recognition. Stonewall was a riot, but you didn't find out about Marsha till 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I personally stand here with the confidence of every butch queen, every drag mother, every house mother that has poured into me, and give them their love and their flowers. So with that confidence, I say happy Pride Month, and thank you for the work that y'all do too. Thank you.
Who's ready to raise a flag? Okay.